This is truly one of the most well-documented and fascinating mysteries of the 20th century. The story of Shanti Devi challenges our understanding of life, death, and the persistence of the human soul. Here is the inspiring story of the girl who remembered her past. The Girl Who Remembered, the story of Shanti Devi. In the late 1920s, in a quiet neighborhood of Delhi, India, a little girl named Shanti Devi began to speak of a life she had never lived, or at least, not in her current body. While other children played with dolls, 4-year-old Shani spoke of her husband and her children in a city called Mathura, over 140 kilometers away. She claimed her name was Lugdi Devi and that she had died 10 days after giving birth to her fourth child. A mother's memory. Shanti's parents initially dismissed her stories as a child's imagination. However, the details she provided were hauntingly specific. She described the exact location of her old home. She knew complex cooking recipes that no toddler should know. She named her husband, Pundit Kedarnath Chaub. Worried, her parents took her to a doctor, who found Shanti to be perfectly healthy and sane. The girl's conviction only grew stronger as she reached the age of 9. The letter that changed everything. In 1935, Shani's teacher decided to test the girl's claims by writing a letter to the name and address Shani had provided in Mathura. To everyone's shock, a reply came back. Kedarnath Chaub was a real person, a merchant who had indeed lost his wife, Lugdi Devi, in 1925, the very year Shanti was born. To verify if this was a hoax, Kedarnath traveled to Delhi, initially pretending to be his own brother. The moment Shanti saw him, she burst into tears of joy, recognizing him instantly. She sat with him and spoke of intimate family secrets, including where she had hidden a stash of gold and money under the floorboards of their home in Mathura. The investigation of the century. The case became so famous that even Mahatma Gandhi took an interest. He appointed a commission of 15 researchers, including parliamentarians and journalists, to accompany Shani to Mathura. What they witnessed was beyond explanation. The homecoming. Upon arriving at the Mathura train station, Shanti recognized relatives she had never met. The navigation. She gave the carriage driver directions through the winding streets to her old house without a single mistake. The hidden treasure. She pointed to a spot under the floor where she claimed to have hidden money. When they dug it up, they found a hidden box. The children. She recognized her children, who were now older than she was, and spoke of their favorite toys and childhood illnesses. "I have known this house for a lifetime," she told the astonished investigators. "It has not changed, even if I have." A life of peace. In 1936, the commission published its report, concluding that Shanti Devi was indeed the reincarnation of Lugdi Devi. They found no evidence of fraud or coaching. Despite the fame, Shanti lived a humble and quiet life. She chose never to marry again, famously stating that she had already been a wife and that one marriage was enough for a lifetime and beyond. She spent her years in spiritual study and passed away peacefully in 1987. Why this story inspires. Shanti Devi's life reminds us that the bonds of love might be stronger than the boundaries of death. It suggests that our experiences and our essence are not merely products of our biology, but perhaps something more enduring. Whether one believes in reincarnation or not, her story invites us to look at the world with a sense of wonder. The case of Shanti Devi remains a gold standard in reincarnation research, but modern researchers are divided. While the early 20th century investigation was hailed as definitive, contemporary science and skepticism have added layers of nuance, psychological theory, and critical scrutiny. Here is what modern researchers and skeptics say about the case today. The pro-evidence perspective. Researchers from the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies, such as Dr. Jim Tucker and the late Dr. Ian Stevenson, view Shanti Devi's case as a foundational example of what they call CST, verifiable facts. In his reviews, Stevenson pointed out that Shanti Devi made at least 24 accurate statements that were verified. Modern researchers highlight her knowledge of intimate details, such as the layout of the house in Mathura, the location of a hidden box of money, and specific details about her husband's habits, as being difficult to explain through chance. Behavioral memories. Researchers emphasize that Shanti didn't just have memories. She exhibited behaviors consistent with a mature woman from Mathura. She spoke in a specific dialect she hadn't learned and reacted with intense motherly emotion toward Shanti Devi's son, which researchers argue is harder to fake than simple facts. Physiological links. While Shanti didn't have the birthmarks common in other cases, she provided accurate clinical details of a cesarean section at a time when such medical knowledge was not common for a young child in Delhi. The skeptical and psychological critique. Modern skeptics, such as psychologist Chris French, offer alternative explanations that don't require the supernatural. Cryptomnesia. This is the most common modern critique. Skeptics argue that Shanti likely overheard conversations or met people from Mathura through her family's social circles. As a child, her brain may have subconsciously integrated these fragments into a past life story. The bias of the Gandhi Commission. Modern critics point out that the commission appointed by Mahatma Gandhi was not an independent scientific body. It included members of the Arya Samaj, a group with a theological interest in proving reincarnation. Skeptics argue the investigation was more of a religious confirmation than a rigorous test. Leading questions and suggestibility. Psychological research shows that children are highly susceptible to suggestion. Once the story gained fame, every adult around Shanti may have inadvertently fed her details through leading questions, which she then mirrored back as memories. The Nahata Report. While the Gandhi report was positive, a lesser-known contemporary report by Balchand Nahata concluded that the evidence was insufficient. He argued that Shanti's recognitions of family members were not properly controlled and could have been guided by the reactions of the crowd. The modern middle ground. Today, the academic community generally views the case through the lens of survival of consciousness. Unresolved anomalies. Even some skeptics admit that the speed and accuracy of her recognitions in Mathura are genuinely puzzling. Sociocultural context. Modern sociologists note that these cases often appear in cultures where reincarnation is a dominant narrative. In India, a child speaking of a past life is encouraged to tell their story, whereas in the West, they are often told to stop pretending. This suggests that the culture shapes how these memories are expressed and reinforced.